I want to thank each and every one of you friends for coming out here tonight and being here with me. As Alan and Kathy Sue will tell you that our journey takes us all over the country. And in the last 6 years, it has been a monumental journey for each and every one of us. Alan has been a part of this Freedom Works family for about 15 years. It has Alan and Kathy, and I've been a part of the family for about 6 years now. And before I get going, I know that this is a crowd that can appreciate what I'm about to say. Let's give a round of applause to the greatest fighting force on the face of the planet, the American soldier. Let's give it. Now, friends, today is the birthday of Thomas Jefferson. He would be 200 and something years old. He'd be old. And he almost didn't run for president in the state that I'm from, Louisiana. If he had not been president of the United States, it would probably not have been a state, or we would have known who Louisiana purchased, because the politics of the day was much different then. I mentioned that to mention this. He was one of those old white men who penned our founding documents. I believe that in those documents, especially the one that he's the father of, the Declaration of Independence, God placed it in his heart to put these words there that we find these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, and among them is life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. And the reason why I want to recognize this old white man tonight is because before you stands the son, the grandson, great-grandson of former slaves. I don't know if Jefferson had it in mind when he wrote the words, but because he wrote the words, and when he wrote the words, he guaranteed that one day, in a nation that would soon become a reality, a nation that was once a whisper, a place called America, before you would stand here in South Carolina, a free man. And that is a principle, it is an idea that we must pass on to our young people. The idea of America must never go away. And you grassroots people, over the last 6 years, you have been called all kinds of names. And the media, progressive liberals, have hoped and wished that you and people like me would go away. But here we are tonight, 6 years later, unbent, unbowed, and still standing in the face of adversity, and we always will, because we are Americans, and we must have it. That is something that, if we're not careful, can go away. It can easily slip out of our grasp. And friends, I believe that there are forces, there are designs, there are people in high places who would like to see America fundamentally change. But because of you, because you did not back down, because you did not go away, we're still here with a chance, a hope of preserving the Republic. Now, I made the movie, it's called Runaway Slave. Somebody comes me all the time, CL, why would you make a film with a name that seems so inflammatory? Runaway Slave. Why would you do that? I'll tell you why. It's an American story. You see, to be a runaway slave, it took courage. You see, that slave had to have made up in his mind to say to himself, and then by his actions, to say to the master, I don't want your food. I don't want your housing. I don't want your clothing. All I want is my freedom. And whatever it takes for me to have my freedom just like you, even if it costs my life, that's what I will have. There was no affirmative action. There was no government programs when that slave left that tyrannical system and headed for freedom. He either made it or he did not. So it was with the Mayflower Pilgrims when they came here from the tyranny of England. They didn't know if they would make it across the Atlantic. They didn't know that even if they got here, they would survive. They were escaping tyranny. And this is the message of the Runaway Slave movie. Regardless of if your ancestors came here on the Mayflower or if they came here in the hulls of slave ships like mine, in the DNA of every true American is a thirst for liberty and freedom, and friends, that must never go away. That is why we fight. That is why. The word Tea Party has become a word that people tend to hate. Taxed enough already. That's what it stands for. That's who you are. We're people who are saying to America, said to the world, we have been taxed enough already. Actually, we started saying this before George Bush was out of office. Yeah. But somehow the media turned us into haters of the first president of color. That was a lie. But they have been very successful at promoting that lie and turning you into racist, turning me into an Uncle Tom. And you know, I know, that that is not true. We're still being taxed too much. We're still taxed enough already. And now we stand on the brink of having to elect a new president. These are the times that try the souls of Americans. These are the times that call upon you once again to stand firm in the face of adversity. This next election will, in fact, I believe, determine not only the fate of America, but because of our friendship with Israel, and our relationship to the rest of the world through Israel, because of our Judeo-Christian principles that this nation was built on, because of our Christian principles that we say we believe in, I believe this next election will determine the fate of the world itself. Whether or not we will remain that shining light on the hill as Americans, friends, it is up to you. And so you must be prepared to answer one question, and that is, what are you prepared to do? And two, how far are you prepared to go? I know that we are tired. We're battle-weary warriors. We have fought battles, we've won many, we've lost a few. But this is a battle that we must win. We placed Congress, those ingrates. We gave John Boehner, the Speaker of the House, gavel. We gave it to him.
Yep.
Right. He has forgotten that. We put Mitch McConnell in his seat. He has forgotten that. But we need to send this message from South Carolina tonight that if they will not listen to the American people, then they need to get their bags and pack them and get out of our state houses, get out of our national houses. That is the message we must send. It's not a message that we send because we hate anybody. It is a message we send because there are certain American principles that each and every one of us does not matter the color of our skin. We must defend it to pass on to our children. With that in mind, I spoke to children, young people today, children in my mind. Mostly all the kids I spoke to today were not as old as my oldest daughter. And I was able to speak to them black and white. And folks, we have promise. They gave me hope. At the historic black college that I spoke at this morning, they gave me hope. The Citadel, they gave me hope. Charleston College, they gave me hope. But there is a message that is being placed in their minds that is poisoning the minds of our young people. They're poisoning the minds of our young people in the schools that you pay for.
Yeah, right.
I don't know how you feel about it, but Common Core is a Trojan horse. It is a Trojan horse that will be affordable health care in medicine. It's a government takeover of the school systems.
Right.
And some people say that we're conspiracy theorists. We're not conspiracy theorists. Any fool can see that the government is out of control.
Yeah.
And it must be reined in.
Right. Yes. Yep.
And you are the people who understand this. And what surprises me and what bothers me is that there are millions more who don't understand it at all. Do any of you ever watch Water's World? For those of you who do not, tune in, Bill O'Reilly. There's Jesse Waters. Good fella. I know Jesse well. Jesse has what he's called Water's World. If you watch Water's World and you see the type of people who don't know who the vice president is, they have, and it may be a good thing, but they vote. These people's votes count just as much as yours does. That's the problem. Rush calls them the low information voters. And they come in all shapes, sizes, colors. They come in beach bums. They come in all kinds of stages of life. But they have no clue what's going on in this country. When you don't know who the vice president of the country is, I mean, it's time to pack it in and go. I'm sorry. Do they vote? And yes, they do go and vote. That's how we wound up in this mess. Through our school systems as well. The story of America must be told. Our story must be told, not only as Republicans or conservatives or grassroots people, but our story of America must be told. I believe that America is the greatest success story the world has ever known. And here I am, standing in front of you, the great-grandson of a former slave. I am a testament. Amen. Know that you're digesting your food. I'm going to keep you on so that you'll sleep well tonight. Alan has had me on the road since about 8 o'clock this morning. Hadn't slept very well in the last couple of days. My wife, when you've been married to the same woman for 40 years, you don't sleep too good when you're away from home. So, but I'm on the road a lot. But let me say this to you. We have within our reach a chance to make choices, and we must choose well. You have your Ted Cruz's. Today, Marco Rubio gave a great speech. You have your Rand Pauls. You have your Scott Wilson's. Scott Walker. We have your Mike Huckabees. You have Ben Carson, good friend Ben Carson. And others. Former governor of Texas is running, longest serving public official since Sam Houston. And all of them I believe would make a better president than we have. However, I think Al Sharpton would make a better president. That's true. Let me tell you why. Al at least has the same worldview. He has the same worldview that most people do in this room. And because people were not informed as to who they were voting for, they voted for someone who did not have an American worldview. Al has that. Jesse Jackson has an American worldview. Hillary Clinton has an American worldview. But that's not enough. What is enough is someone who has conservative core values that we need to place in the White House. Values that we preach about from our pulpits, but then go to the polls on Tuesday and vote against. This is a problem. I'm glad to see so many black faces here. There have been many over the last several months that Alan and I have been on this tour that we have seen. And this is why I'm glad that they're here, because I can share this with you. And it doesn't matter what your politics is on this issue that I'm about to share with you, but I need to share it with you. How is it possible that in the state of New York, every year, almost more babies, black babies, are aborted than born? We're only 13% of the population. How is it possible that 43% of all abortions in this country are performed on black babies, when we're only 13% of the population? And when you go back to your congregations, when you go back and you talk to your pastors, if they happen to be voting the Democrat ticket, you need to ask them if you're black or whoever you are. How is it possible that you vote for the mass genocide?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Right. That's right.
Of not only your own people, but any people.
Yeah.
If you go back to your pastors and you tell them that Christians are being killed all over this world, and they are silent about it, I say to you, you need to find another church.
That's right. Yes, sir.
So, my fellow Americans, there are difficult days ahead of us.
Yes, sir.
Difficult days ahead of us. We can't be very concerned about any of that. We must do the right thing. Dr. King said that it's always the right time to do the right thing.
Yes.
And here we are with the opportunity to do the right thing. Pay very close attention. Don't let the smoke and mirrors get in the way this time. I held my nose last time. I voted for Mitt Romney last time, but not this time.
Good.
Not this time. I'm not going to keep voting for the same old guy, Bob Dole. I'm not going to vote for John McCain. I'm not going to vote for Mitt Romney. They're going to have to bring to us, the Republican Party, a candidate that we the people want to have in office. We're not going to settle this time. No. So, as I travel around this country, as I leave you tonight, and sometimes in perilous situations, many times shaking hands that are unfriendly. As I told a group of people earlier, back in my younger days, I was incredibly Afrocentric. I had a huge afro. Some of y'all remember 8-track tapes. I had a car that was decked out with 8-track tapes. My grandfather had called me to come down and set some fence posts for him, and it was the old-fashioned way. I was on the north end of a southbound hand digging post hole digger. You men who've ever done that, you know that's man's work. And I pulled up on the property, and I had James Brown blasting real loud. Sing it loud. Black and I'm proud. I got out of the vehicle, and Granddaddy, he was a pulpwood truck. He was in the pulpwood business. He owned about 6 pulpwood trucks. Couldn't read or write. He wrote his name on the back of that wall. He wouldn't be able to know what it was. But he worked hard, never asked anybody for nothing. But I could tell that he was upset. And he came up to me and he put his rough-hewn finger in my face and he said, "Sonny," that's what he called me. I didn't go through all that I went through so you could be black. I went through all that I went through so you could be free. Free to go where I never got a chance to go. Free to be around people that you want to be around. But above all, free to speak your mind. And I hope tonight somewhere around the throne of God he's proud. But I have a question that I always must ask of places and people like you and when I'm in places like this. And that question is one that all of you must answer. Are there any patriots in this room? Is there anybody who will stand up